It's great to see everybody. It seems like it's been forever. These last 2 weeks have been long 2 weeks between the bye and then getting ready for this game, but excited. Really excited. It was really cool yesterday. We're starting to phase into the Womble Football Center. So yesterday we were able to use our team room for our team meeting for the first time. It's absolutely incredible. I think the video board is where you see this. I think it's like 40-foot, a 40-foot video board. We'll be able to use getting trained this week. We'll be able to use our walkthrough room, our unit meeting room. And so the Sky Bridge is open. Our guys can cross over. Yesterday we had a developmental lift with our young guys. They were able to lift in the new weight room. And then last week we were able to use the new training room. So we're slowly but surely getting moved in, and it's next level. It's absolutely incredible, state of the art, and as nice as anywhere in the country, if not the nicest football facility in the country. And so excited about that. We needed the bye week. If we would have put out the injury report after the Colorado game, the questionables would have been quite extensive compared to what they are. The guys were felt really good yesterday. They needed some rest. It was a little bit different than our first bye week. We really didn't need that first bye week. This one we really did. And so had practice yesterday, off today, and we'll be back in full pads tomorrow to get ready for Oklahoma State. It's going to be a good game. It's their senior night. I know they've got a lot of older players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that have a lot of pride. And so I know they're going to be ready to go. And man, we're excited to go to Stillwater and play a great game and get back on the football field. It's good to be back yesterday at practice. It's going to be great to be on the football field tomorrow. So with that, any questions?
Justin on the front row.
Coach, obviously you mentioned the bye week and you guys needed it. I was curious with the extra time if there was more, emphasis put on the younger guys, and if there's any of those guys that, could impact the game these next couple of weeks.
We had all last week, and then even yesterday, we call them our Devo scrimmages, and so our developmental scrimmages. I think and some of the young guys that are playing a lot, like Jacoby and Cam Dickey, we keep those guys out of that because they're getting that. He's a redshirt freshman. I expect to see Kelby Vaslin in the game on Saturday. We'll have some stuff for him. He's had some really, really good scrimmages, so maybe some different packages. I could see him. We're hoping that Micah is able to go. We'll see as the week goes, because I'd like to see him as a punt returner. That would be the plan if he can go. If not, it's going to be against West Virginia because we feel like we should be able to get him back by then. And then some of the, Nick Fattig being fully healthy, he's had good scrimmages. Jacob Ponton, we've gotten past to where we're not going to burn his red shirt. He came into the game at the end of the game against Colorado. Thought he did a good job for being, sitting for 3 and almost 4 quarters and jumping in there. And so I think you'll see some more of the young guys like that in some roles, that we know that we're not going to be able to burn the red shirt. Peyton Morgan will probably take more of like Oliver Miles has been playing some special teams. So he's played 4 games. We're not going to burn his red shirt. So we're going to pull him back until the bowl game. And so Peyton Morgan will go in that spot. So stuff like that.
I guess at this point, how important are these 2 weeks to, build some momentum into the offseason? Because I know that you guys have, you've not reached where you would like to be, but you obviously still have key games to play these next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's huge. Number one, whenever you got this in a bowl, it's so big for your development of your young guys, and how much you get. Like you're turning around and you're getting, anywhere between 10 and 15 practices for those guys. So you're really getting an extra spring football for your young guys. So it's really big in the development of our freshmen and our redshirt freshmen. And then the next 2 weeks, some of the guys that, again, once you get past the chance of not burning their red shirt, of getting those guys into, real game situations. So I think it's huge, and I do think it's huge to really build some momentum We talked about going 1-0 like we have every single week this week to get to 7 wins, and then you regroup again and get ready for that last game, and then you turn around and the more games you win, the better bowl you get in. It makes a big difference because you're going to be playing really good competition, and that's what we need. And then there is a lot of frustration. I mean, I'm big fans of some guys in this conference, and it's going to be really interesting with BYU getting beat. I mean, they still control their destiny because of Arizona State and BYU play this week, but Arizona State controls their destiny. So you're sitting there, the frustration. Of course, and I know everybody feels it, that you're probably going to get like a Colorado versus Arizona State or a Colorado versus BYU, probably in the Big 12 championship. Now, in saying that, every single week, I'm sure nobody thought that Kansas was going to go into Provo, Utah, and win that game, but they did. And that's kind of how the Big 12 is, and that's why I think it is an exciting conference.
We never really did get an answer on what you guys kind of self-scout from that first bye week and then kind of going into this stretch. So what did kind of come of that, and how did that kind of help, maybe not help? What kind of focus on that 4-game stretch leading into this one then?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, especially on the defense side of the ball, whenever you look at Colorado, Iowa State, and TCU, we've moved a lot more. We've gotten a lot more pressure in those games. One guy that has done that, is Jacob Rodriguez in those stretches. And so a lot of that coming out of, we didn't do it as much. Our Baylor game plan, which, obviously we didn't do a good job in a lot of areas, was more of the Arizona type stuff. And then whenever you go these last 3 games, there's been a lot of more movement on defense. That was a lot more of the self-scout of coming out of that, and makes a big difference. And then, offensively, it's really not self-scout. It's like with us, really the last 2 weeks where we've got to become better is like our first quarter, I think we scored 106 points. Our second quarter, we scored 102 points, and then there's a dramatic difference in our second half as far as the points. I think it's like 66 and like 70-something. So our right now is being more consistent on offense, whether that's, attacking more vertical, taking more shots downfield, which we tried to do a little bit against Colorado, and then going back also, if you look at offensively being more consistent after our first 2 drives. The first 2 drives against Iowa State should have been 14-3, but it was 10-3. Same way with Colorado, it's 13-0, and so us after that third and fourth series being more aggressive and getting more points out of that. Just kind of give you an idea, and I know they've struggled a little bit, but this is who I compare us to from the standpoint of this is who I'm looking at this week. We scored 106 points in the first quarter. Oklahoma State scored 33. So like that tells you like what we're doing in the first quarter, but then you turn around in the second half of what we're not doing. And some of that also is, whenever you look at the total points of that 4-game winning streak, you're also talking about you've got the game in hand, you're running Taj more, you're slowing the game down, stuff like that to win the game.
And I know everybody's kind of looking for this big shift, this big boom from one year to the next, but is there something to kind of be said about getting that incremental growth? Because if you guys were to win these next 2 games, an 8-win regular season hasn't been done in a while, there's something to be said about those kind of improvements that can lead to more sustainability down the road.
Yeah. I mean, I want it right now. I'm like everybody else. I mean, there's, again, y'all have heard me say this a million times, and I'm as frustrated. If I'm not the most frustrated person in the country when it comes to Texas Tech football, I mean, I live it every day. It's not like this is my life. So I get the frustration. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it because we're lucky at a place that we have such a passionate fan base, so I understand the frustration, but I also understand that getting 8 wins, and Matt, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it hadn't been done since 2009, and then whenever you look at it, like, we can go into great depth, but like how many times it's been done, period, and like next year we'll play 100 years of football at Texas Tech, and just the amount of time that it's been done. And so whenever I say that, it's not good enough, right? We all know that. It's not good enough. I mean, I'm here to win the Big 12. It's not good enough. But to grow this program and push it forward, it's really important. Our guys understand how important this week is. I think you're going to see that on Saturday on how hard we play, of how important this game is to get 7 wins. And then, we really hadn't talked about in the full scheme with the entire team of 8, but, really trying to concentrate on this week. But it is, we have to push this program forward. Bless you.
So we've seen kind of how records can be a little deceiving with college football, and it feels like every single week there's some kind of upset. I mean, y'all upset Iowa State.
Yeah.
Last weekend you mentioned BYU taking a tumble against Kansas. So my question to you is maybe what steps are your coaching staff and even some of the leaders on this team taking to ensure that your program isn't one of the ones getting that upset?
Yeah, I've never seen college football like this. And it's, I think it's going to continue. I don't think it changes, because I think you're going to continue seeing the portal affect college football, and teams doing a good job of evaluating talent and helping them improve, how guys develop their younger talent, helping them improve. I think the biggest thing, and we've gone from, if you think about it, our last 4 weeks, it's like been a roller coaster. I mean, we get blown out by Baylor, embarrassing loss at home. Then you turn around and you go to TCU and you feel like you have the game in hand and get beat at the end. And then you turn around and it shows the fight in these players that they can go into Ames, Iowa and beat an undefeated team. And then you come back and we start off on a great note and get beat by Colorado. It's been a roller coaster, a lot of highs and lows this season. Really trying to get these guys and this staff to focus on, like yesterday, my point in our meeting was, let's have the best Sunday we've had. And then today is a big recovery day, and we have some really new machines that we've got sensory beds. It's like a dry float. We got water massage beds, like we got a new cryo chamber that can fit 4 people in the cryo chamber, like all that stuff. So the guys getting their bodies right for tomorrow. But really, tomorrow's message is going to be, let's have the best Tuesday. These next, couple of hours, let's have our feet where they're supposed to be and have the best Tuesday. And if you do that, you give yourself a chance to play well on Saturday. But you're right. I mean, I'm sitting there watching games. That's all I did on I got back from Dallas recruiting about 1:30, and I watched games, all day long. And of course, y'all know I know Chris, I'm a huge fight fan, so I watched UFC fights and everything like that, and had all the TVs going. And man, it's just crazy. I mean, like, who can beat who, and who's a good team, and teams that you think are really good, and all of a sudden they're having that one off Saturday or a couple off Saturdays, and it's really interesting right now in college football. And that's also the frustrating part. And for me, I think one of the things that I have done for a long time is recognizing opportunities, and it's frustrating the opportunity that we've allowed to pass by, because at different times we haven't been good enough on game day to win those games.
Yeah, and then during the Colorado game, I'm sure it's everywhere. There was that little altercation between the ball boy and some of the players on Colorado's team. Have you heard anything from Colorado about that? Have y'all taken any steps, or was it just kind of a misunderstanding that we as consumers and the media, I guess, misunderstood?
I don't want to say anybody misunderstood, but I think that was more. It'd be a great question for Kirby from the standpoint of, I think, that's probably been addressed at the AD level and everything like that. It's tough. I mean, I've seen some videos and different reactions with Dion, and the different stuff that he's talked about. I mean, it's such as all sports are, basketball. We've seen it in basketball. We're seeing it, it seems like every week in football right now. I mean, it's such an emotional game, and emotions are running high, and there's so much at stake. Some of that stuff happens, and so, you shouldn't. There's no cause for it, but I know they've addressed it at that level.
You mentioned about the offense, the inconsistency in the first half and the second half. I'm curious also about when you have a lead and you're running Taj a lot, how much influence do you have on the fly in the game in terms of communicating with Kitley on what the game plan is?
Yeah, a lot. I'm so frustrated myself from the standpoint of TCU. I slowed him down. I wished I wouldn't have. We had that 13-point lead, and I think we're driving, and one big play, and it's nobody's fault. I don't think we've got the 13-point lead yet. I think we might have been up by 7, but we're fixing to throw, and I'd already kind of slowed him down at this point, but we're fixing to throw a now screen that's going to pick up 5 yards. They're playing off. It goes from 2nd 5. Instead, ball slips out of Will's hands. It goes to 2nd 17. That was a huge play in the game. But as far as I wished, whenever you go back and look, and of course hindsight's 2020, really attacking them more whenever we're talking about that. The kick and the field goal, I've looked back on that, and if you go back and I don't know if it was the first down or second down, but we would go RPO. We got Micah uncovered, fixed to be a touchdown. Don't throw it. Freshman quarterback, so it's a little bit of I don't mind kicking that field goal right there. But as far as the TCU game and slowing that down, that was 100% me more than Kitley.
The defense, it seems like, example against Colorado, played really well, and then it seems like the levee breaks at times this year, and there's 4 or 5 scores in a row. Have y'all been able to pinpoint why that happens?
Well, the thing about like Colorado and even Iowa State, man, you're playing really good defense, and Iowa State, we give up a touchdown right before half, and we're like you're literally are in a really good call, and you don't play the ball on the single receiver side when you've got a cover 2 corner and a safety. So you should have 2 guys on that, and you don't play it. And when I look back on that, I think that's coaching, and getting the guys to understand. Then you turn around, and I think it's twice. Y'all can help me. 2nd 16. I think it's 2nd and 19. They throw a screen. One's a touchdown. I think one's a huge play, first down. We lose our leverage. I think if everybody had $1 for how many times I said we've lost our leverage this year, y'all would have a lot of money because that's the part. Like the thing with defense, it's all fits. It's like a puzzle. You force balls where you want it to go versus where they want it to go. Sometimes they win, but sometimes, you're fundamentally not in good positions. The first one that was a touchdown, our corner runs right down the middle. He's got to set the edge. Our free safety, if you look at that play, Chappie is expecting that ball to come back inside, so he's at a full sprint and going to make the tackle. And instead, we run right down the middle. The ball is able to get outside. Now Chappie's got to change his angle. Well, he's changing his angle on Travis Hunter. So you can't change. Like, that's out the window now. Now all of a sudden it's a touchdown. And so that's the things. I mean, it happened right before the half against Baylor. So you're playing really, really good defense, and then fundamentally, assignment-wise, and just fundamental football, we have a lapse and gives up big plays.
Coach, after the Colorado game, you talked about a few missed calls. I'm curious if you ever got a response from the NCAA about that.
That comes from the Big 12 level, and we got an email saying not to comment on the officials anymore, which I think, probably y'all probably saw the Utah game. It's crazy. I think, honestly, at the end of the year, and this is at the NCAA level, the Power 4 level, the world that we live in now with technology, we've got to figure out a way to move from old school thinking and get calls right. I'm sure everybody saw the Pitt Clemson game, and you know what? At the end of the day, they got the call right. I don't know how Dabo feels about it in the moment. I know he wasn't happy about it, but he can't argue that that was the right call. And how did that happen? Well, it probably happened at the replay booth upstairs, and whatever ours is called the Rock, whatever that is, said, hey, look, that's a penalty. I mean, in 2024 and then going into 2025, the technology that we have, we got to start discussing on, you have people that are in the building and you have people that are at the remote center that can help each other out. Because at the end of the day, the call's got to be right, and especially in critical situations. So we just, as far as like that game and everything else, we've been asked not to comment on them.
And then you've talked a little bit about the new facilities. I know last year on senior day, when you were talking about Tony Bradford, you joked that he should get a weight room named after him.
Yeah.
Curious, did that come to fruition or anything like that?
No, not in the weight room, but there is a lot of different names going up on the building. The other thing that's really cool is just the branding. I sent a picture. It's all kind of black and white, and you see us coming out of the smoke, and there's like Davion Carter's running out and different guys, especially those older guys, the seniors, and their eligibility is going to be up, after the bowl game. I mean, it's really cool to see those going in. It's going to be, I can't wait for everybody, for y'all to be able to walk through that building and report on that building, because it is extremely impressive. I've been to a lot of places, and there's a lot of things in that building I haven't seen anything like. And then the other thing that's really cool is because the way it's built and just that sky bridge is as big as this room as far as width wise. If you start right, so you're walking down that sky bridge like that. I mean, it's just the grandeur and just how it looks. It's pretty incredible.
Coach, when you look at Oklahoma State's record, is it misleading to see that it's 3-7?
Yeah, it is from the standpoint. They lose the quarterback that they were playing against BYU. I think if he doesn't get hurt, they beat BYU that week. They played, I think, in the fourth quarter. They're going to the fourth quarter. It's a one-score game against Baylor. Because if you look at it, you've got the returning Doak Walker winner in Ollie Gordon. He's still a really, really good football player. I think he had 125 yards last week. And then Presley, their receiver, I think he is now the all-time leading receiver at Oklahoma State. Y'all think about that. I mean, the Biletnikoff winners that they've had at Oklahoma State, and that guy being the number one guy says a lot about him. And then they've dealt with some injuries, and so does some of those guys come back, or are they out for the year? Because two of their better defensive players haven't played in a few weeks. So, and those guys are getting invited to the senior bowls and everything like that. And two really, really good players. I don't know if they're going to be back or not, but it is, and again, this conference, I think anybody can beat anybody, if you're not ready to go on Saturday. So we're going to have to be ready to go on Saturday. And it's going to be a great environment, man. Stillwater's a great college town that, it's got the paddles are going to be banging against the wall, and it's going to be loud, and our guys are going to be ready for it.
Yeah, you kind of talked about it a little bit there, but what stands out about both sides of Oklahoma State between their offense and defense? What just jumps off the page that you guys are going to have to be ready for?
I think experience at quarterback. He's played a lot of football. He has weapons. They've got a vet offensive line, and, we've got to do a good job of run fit, because Ollie is a really good football player. And then defensively, it's going to be a little bit, personnel is different, but it's going to be a little bit like what we've played against Colorado. They're going to play 4 down. They're going to run a lot of man free. We're going to have to take advantage of some of our matchups. And I think it's really important to get a fast start. I think whenever you're coming off a loss like we've had and coming off a loss like they've had, it's going to be the team that wants to play the most, that's most excited to play on Saturday.
Have you ever been in a situation, I mean, this is probably going to be the norm in the future of college football, but season opener against a former quarterback, a guy that's from West Texas. I mean, now you've got another former. How unique and how weird is that to have a quarterback on the other side that probably wants to prove, hey, I should have been there all along type?
Yeah, man, I do think it's going to be kind of the norm, but it's crazy. I mean, if you go through like week 1, there was 6 or 7 starters, and then you go week 3. I mean, 2 of the old linemen that started had played it. I mean, it's just, I think it's the kind of the norm, and so I know this is going to be his last home game there, and then he's playing his old team. I know Allen from the standpoint of he's from Grapevine, and we recruited him at Baylor, and so know him well. I know he and Kirby at Media Day had great conversation, and man, he's a great kid, and I know he's going to be fired up to play us. I think they all will be, just because, when you're playing your last game in a place that, you spent some time. He's been there for 2 years, but man, those old linemen, they've been there for a long time. One of them also recruited out of Argyle, that our starting center, his brother, plays for him, and I know that's going to be a big deal of them playing against each other, and who's going to have bragging rights in the family.
Joe, you mentioned Kelby Valson having opportunity to gain some more playing time. What's he done lately behind the scenes?
He's he had a big day yesterday in our developmental scrimmage. He's catching the ball really well. And some of it would depend also, some of the reps that Micah was getting. If Micah can't play, he's going to get, but we're going to do some different things with him. And, some of those young guys, we got to see, exactly where they're at. And he's practiced hard all year long, played a little bit on special teams, but not a lot. But he has shown up. Will starts out in those Devo scrimmages to get his reps, and they've had a good connection, and he showed up every one of the scrimmages that we've had. We've probably, in the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks, we've 6 scrimmages with the young guys, and somewhere between 20 and 35 plays with those guys, and he's shown up in every one of them.
For the folks who have wanted to see more Will Hammond since the TCU game, what's the plan for him?
Well, we're past to where the big deal with him was keeping his red shirt, and again, Barron's and healthy and everything like that. He's been splitting some reps with some different guys. I think, going in and even going into the bowl game, he'll get a lot more reps with the twos and make sure he's ready to go. I forgot what game it was, that it might have been Baylor. Barron's helmet came off, and he, was grabbing his helmet to run on the field, and I ended up calling a timeout, because I didn't want to have him in one game and burn a game because of a helmet coming off. I don't have to worry about that anymore. We don't have to worry about him being ready to go in the game. So we'll prepare him, if something happens to Barron these next couple weeks, and then we'll kind of see how the bowl game goes as far as what we're going to do there.
You mentioned earlier, you're talking about a lot of names going up in the new building and buildings. How well do you know Rudy Rinda and Timm Wynn?
Very well. I was in the Players Lounge last night because there's a recovery room in the Players Lounge, and so I wanted to go in there, and they're still. That part of the building, they're still, a few weeks away. But I took a picture of it and sent it to both of them. Man, they've been great supporters of ours. And again, I think it's really cool whenever you've got former players that are giving back to their university at the level that they're giving back to, and could put their name on the wall. So I got response from both of them last night on the text. Those are 2 really great guys.
All right, that'll do it for Coach.
All right. Thank y'all.